Okay guys, we're going to talk about an example of a narrative essay. And this is a little story about Jeff and Trudy on their honeymoon. And we start off here guys with this informal outline. And you notice how simple it is, right? You have two campers, they ignore rules, they leave food out. Animal finds the food. They try to scare off the animal, and campers learn to follow rules. And so this is a really simple, very simple outline. And notice too, there are bullets here. And this, guys, would be an example of some brainstorming. And if you want to write down your ideas like this, feel free to. But don't turn them in as a part of the final draft. Don't do that. And so guys, we come to the actual narrative here. This piece divides each section differently than say the intro, body, and conclusion. There is an intro to this and a conclusion to this essay, but it divides the story in a slightly different way because it has these sections about setting the scene for the story. There's a part about developing the plot and so forth. But the introduction is right here, and the first few sentences, the first 4 sentences, talk about Jeff and Trudy. They go on their honeymoon, they're camping out, and they're camping in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park in Tennessee. And these first few sentences here, guys, are talking about the introduction about going to the park. And the main idea here, guys, in a broad sense, is going to be these last couple of sentences. Specifically, this one right here, guys, this sentence right here is going to be your main idea. These campers learn just how important following directions can be. It's a good idea, guys, to keep your main idea. Let me back up with that. You need to keep your main idea in the first paragraph, and especially in an essay of this short of an assignment. The thesis sentence needs to be in there toward the end of that first paragraph, and this is that sentence here. And so we get into the idea of this story, setting the scene for the story here, that Jeff and Trudy are meeting with the ranger, and he gives them a list of do's and don'ts, because he tells them that there's bears and other animals in the area, so lock up your food in the car, he says. And that sets the stage for the rest of the piece. And later on, they're tired about having to set up their camp, and so they doused the light in the tent and they ignored the rules. And that sets up things. And then, as this thing divides this essay up, it talks about the continuing action. And here, Jeff is awakened by sounds of metal ripping. And I really like that phrase here, metal ripping, because you can hear that happening, metal ripping. And so it's kind of a nice phrase to use there. And so Jeff gets outside. He sees this black bear on the picnic table, and he's devouring this bacon he's found. And Jeff starts screaming at the bear, says, "Get out of here, what do you think you're doing?" And I can just imagine the bear saying, "Yeah, Jeff, I'm just having some breakfast, go back to sleep," right? I can just picture that. And the next section here talks about reaching the climax. And this is where the bear is simply not amused by Jeff's presence. And he actually gets up on the picnic table. And he's looming way over Jeff's head. And here the bear suddenly fell forward, striking the table with his full weight, and snarled. And I like that word snarl there because it kind of gives you that idea of the specific nature of what happened here. It snarled. That's a matter of word choice. And the table moaned. And you can pretty much hear that happening. The table moans. And so the climax continues here. And once Jeff saw this, he saw the menacing paw here. And I like that phrase, menacing paw. You could almost count the number of claws the bear has, right? And so he runs back into the tent, and he realizes that doesn't do a lot of good. And so the bear goes back to his business here, and he doesn't find anything as really as nice as the bacon. So he jumps off the picnic table. He grunts here. You can hear that. He licks his paws and mouth, and you can see that. You can actually imagine that. And then he lumbers off. He lumbered off. And that's the word choices here are rather interesting, because notice how specific those things are. So you have those specific word choices. And we have the concluding paragraph here, in which the Jeff and Trudy they go back to the list. They find out what they need to do or don't do, and the rest of their trip is blissfully peaceful. That's a nice phrase to use there. And they learn to use all the rules. And notice, guys, of how this piece then talks about how they followed the rules at the campsite. And that ties this very last sentence into the main idea. And that's a cool way to approach this. Okay, guys, so this is a narrative essay, and your essay would need to be something maybe similar to this. It can be a dream you've had, or perhaps dreaming as if you were a superhero. I've had a student do that before. It can be about a vacation you have taken, or a vacation you would like to take. And if it's about a vacation, it can be about what you did at place A or place B or place C, and those could be your body paragraphs, your beginning, middle, and end. And that would be a good way to organize this essay. And 2, you can also look at this as being event 1, event 2, event 3, event 4, event 5, in which your events would then probably need to be separate paragraphs, because then you're dividing your essay, you're dividing your body paragraphs into separate, smaller events, and that would be fine, because you'd be talking about what you do at a particular place, and that's an isolated situation at that place. And so that would be, so some of your paragraphs may be rather short, some of them may be actually rather long. But the point is keep each part, each separate event in your piece, a separate paragraph. And so that's the case with this essay. Another thing too, guys, is going to be the length of this essay is going to be probably about 1.5 pages. 2, it needs to be a double space. It needs to be Times New Roman, 12 point, and you don't need to break it up into the way that this essay does that. Your breaks are going to be your paragraphs. And the top part, guys, you don't need to turn in this thing about the outline here. Just put your name, class, date, maybe, and give it a nice, clever title. And if you're saving this if you're using a Mac, you would need to export this probably to a PDF, because Word documents, because I cannot open up a Pages file here at the house. I can't do that. Apple and Microsoft don't get along with each other. So that's the scoop, guys. You can submit this through Blackboard, and that's the scoop. So good luck with it.